Monday, July 15, Calling Levi and the Question of Fasting. Read Mark chapter 2, verses 13 to 22. Who was Levi, the son of Alphaeus, and why would there be an objection to him becoming a disciple of Jesus? Let's read Mark 2, beginning at verse 13. Once again Jesus went out beside the lake. A large crowd came to him, and he began to teach them. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," Jesus told him, and Levi got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with him and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. When the teachers of the law, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with the sinners and tax collectors, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Jesus said to them, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners." Now John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting. Some people came and asked Jesus, "How is it that John's disciples and the disciples of the Pharisees are fasting, but yours are not?" Jesus answered, "How can the guests of the bridegroom fast while he is with them? They cannot, so long as they have him with them. But the time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them, and on that day they will fast. No one sews a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old garment. Otherwise, the new piece will pull away from the old, making the tear worse. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the wine will burst the skins, and both the wine and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins." Tax collectors in Jesus' day were civil servants under the local or Roman government. They were unpopular among the Jewish population in Judea because they often exacted more than required and became rich off their countrymen. A Jewish commentary on religious law, the Mishnah, tractate Tohoroth, says, "If tax gatherers entered a house, all that is within it becomes unclean." Thus it is not surprising that the scribes inquire disapprovingly, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" How did Jesus respond to their question? He doesn't reject it. Instead, he turns it on its head, indicating that people who are sick, not who are healthy, need a doctor. He therefore claims the moniker of spiritual doctor, the one who can heal the sin-sick soul. And should not a doctor go where the sick are? Mark 2, 18 to 22 picks up a new theme. It is the central story of these 5 stories dealing with the controversy. When the previous section included a feast provided by Levi, this next story revolves around the question of fasting. It consists of a query as to why Jesus' disciples do not fast when John the Baptist and the Pharisees do. Jesus responds with an illustration or parable in which he compares his presence to a wedding feast. It would be an extremely odd wedding if the guests all fasted. But Jesus does predict a day when the bridegroom will be taken away, an allusion to the cross. There will be plenty of time for fasting then. Jesus continues with 2 illustrations that highlight the contrast between his teaching and that of the religious leaders. Unshrunk cloth on an old garment and new wine in old wineskins. What an interesting way to contrast the teaching of Christ and the religious leaders. It shows just how corrupted the ways of the teachers had become. Even true religion can be turned into darkness if people are not careful. And so to finish today, who are those who today might be looked upon as the tax collectors were in Jesus' day? How do we adjust our thinking regarding them?
This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind.
Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.